Well, gentlemen, again, my name is John Paris, and on behalf of the entire Asian American group, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us this afternoon. Today with us we have Mike Vaswani, our president, and Kevin Fung, our executive vice president, and we're here for our general election endorsement interviews. I believe both of you have been interviewed with us before, or at least you've been to our events more than once in the past. So I'll dispense with our normal introduction of who AAG is. Obviously, we are here to learn more about you, and as well, we're here to allow the voters to get to know you a little bit better. Sitting on my right-hand side is Stephen Silberkraus, who is the incumbent in Nevada Assembly District 29. And seated on my left is Richard Carrillo, who is the Democratic candidate and the incumbent in Assembly District 18. Stephen is also a Republican. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. It's very late in the day, so it all blurs together somewhat. Gentlemen, this is somewhat of an odd introductory question for both of you, and we'll start with Stephen and then have Richard have a chance to answer it. It's an odd question considering you're both the incumbents, but Stephen, why have you decided to run for this particular race at this particular time?
No, absolutely. I'll take it back 2 years why I ran then, because it's really the same today. I've got a 3-year-old son, and just looking at our state's education system, looking at a lot of the environment that he's going to grow up in, employment opportunities, a variety of things, and saying this isn't good enough. And if it's not good enough for my son, it's not good enough for any child in Nevada. It's not good enough for any person in Nevada. And I wanted to get involved, and I wanted to see about changing that. And I think over the last 2 years, we've moved forward on a lot of great educational reforms, a lot of things that will make this a better place for him to grow up, and hopefully every other child and adult.
Perfect. And Richard, same question.
Well, this is my 4th time for running for District 18. Since then, I've had a grandson that has grown from being just a small baby when I first started, and now he's just entering 1st grade. And I just feel that education is the prime reason why we, as people that want to help the kids in our state, is just continue to push that and make sure that we do have the opportunity to provide them with a good education. And of course, we as individuals, everybody will have their, where it comes down to, it takes a village. It's kind of the same situation. It's not just going to be me that does it. It's going to be the parents that have involvement, and neighbors, and they all need to be involved in, because even though if they have no kids or not, ultimately those kids are going to be taking care of them someday, whether it be a doctor, a lawyer, and I feel that we need to give them every opportunity to be that.
Okay. And Richard, we'll start the next question with you and go back to Stephen. Obviously, both of you mentioned education as one of the main reasons why you are both running for your respective seats. Nevada's hovering around 47th in the nation in education right now, depending on which metric you use. What ideas do you have short-term, Richard, to try and improve upon that to get us moving in the right direction? Obviously, we know what the long-term goal is, but short-term, what can spur the change and the improvement that Nevada sorely needs in its educational system?
Well, I think there's some steps that have already been taken, and I think what we're doing right now is of course every session there are changes. The problem is we don't give enough time for these changes to see what the effects are. Every time, because of course we only have session every 2 years, every 100, it's 120 days, and that's all we're given. We don't have, let's see what happens in 2 years. Let's see what effects have been, because sometimes it takes longer than just a 2-year period for results to be shown. So the short term, I just think if we're looking at positive changes, there's some things that need to be done, but same aspect, the wait time is I don't feel that it's given enough time to see what it's producing, because ultimately, if we're changing the game plan every 2 years, and look at it as it's a progressive, only because football season has just recently started. If you're changing the plan, if you're going from a running game to a throwing game, but you're not giving the running game enough time to see what's playing out. Yeah, you only have 120 days, but same aspect, if that 120 days is going to affect for the next 2 years. So to me, short term, let's stop making so many changes to the system to try to see where we go from, if it's 47th to 46th or 45th. Because like I said, we make so many changes and don't give time for those changes to actually go into effect.
Very brief follow-up. Obviously, you've been up at the Assembly for the past 3 terms, correct?
Yes.
This would be your 4th. What, obviously that would be, I would assume, enough time for us to be moving in the right direction. Were there any votes or any decisions that were made in those prior terms that you feel either were changed back too quickly, weren't given enough time to ferment, if that's perhaps the right word?
Well, I mean, some people feel that some aspects of the whole process of being able to say, well, the changes that we put in place, because there is no time frame to wait and see. It's like I said, there's nothing that is said that we are going to leave this for, it's going to sunset, or we're going to see what's going to happen before we change it. So what you're saying is if we, even though I've been in 3 terms, there's been changes like Zoom schools, and we've tried to modify, because it's always changing. And so you kind of have to change with that, and that's where the policy of saying, well, hey, we have one set in place, but now they've changed their game up, so we need to modify a little bit. But us as a legislature, we're making these laws to say we're going to make positive changes or negative changes depending on what we feel at that time. And again, we are not knowing exactly what they're going to play out to be. So I feel it's just one of those situations where if we continue to go along the path of not allowing the time, and I keep reverting back to that because I feel that a lot of this time is being a 3rd time legislator, it's not going to happen overnight. But same aspects like, well, okay, it's been 3 terms. Well, 3 terms. What can you expect? And I say that to myself. I question myself on that. What do we expect to change in that time? Well, I'm not going to use the whole term of Rome wasn't built in a day, but same aspect. You have different, since then we've had a new superintendent put in place, so now there's different things that he's got different ideas that he wants to play. So we as a legislature give them the tools, give them the money to make this happen, but same aspect, we have to show as a society to say, well, hey, where are the results coming back before we make changes?
And Stephen?
Absolutely. I think Richard hit the nail on the head by saying, people want immediate gratification. They want to have a reform that will show us immediate results. And a lot of these programs are long game. They're setting up a foundation to make sure that the generations that come after are given the opportunity to really grow and succeed. Zoom schools, ELL programs, Read by 3. We've got lots of great things that passed out during the last session that I think are going to show us long-term benefits. But as far as the short term, I think there were a few ones that we actually did implement last go around. I'm going to be a little biased and say one of them was mine, AB 321, which was a school safety bill. We actually found a loophole in the law where if you were at a public charter school, so it's still a public school, but a charter school, and you had an emergency and you needed to call the police to respond, you'd call 911. The police would say, well, this is a school. It's not Metro or HPD's responsibility. Call school police. You'd call school police, CCSD police. They'd pick up the phone and go, well, you're not a CCSD school, you're a charter school. Call Metro or HPD. And this was happening across the entire state, not just here in Southern Nevada. We had an issue in Washoe where there was an active shooter situation happening right next to a charter school, and they weren't able to get any information. They went into a lockdown, but they couldn't get police to respond. It's a scary situation. And we were able to work through a solution so that now if any school calls, be it a public school, a charter school, a private school, that the local law enforcement will respond just like any other call for service, whether their local school police should respond or not. That way we know someone's going to show up to help protect our kids. Now, how does that help with the education? A safe learning environment makes it easier and better for our students to learn. And in some of our schools, we know there are major security concerns and safety issues. So knowing that we've got that, I think will show an immediate, improvement. Along with that, one of the big bills out of last session, you've probably heard a lot about it during the last year, is AB 394, which is the reorganization or the breakup of the Clark County School District. That's one I think that's going to show us truly immediate results, because you're pushing down decision-making authority, you're pushing down responsibility to the school, to the parents, to the community. And I think we all know that when decisions are made at the school, when parents can have a say in the process, you're going to see greater improvements. You're not going to have parents at a school saying, I don't care that my school's a 1-star. You're going to have them get involved, and you're going to have them hold people accountable to make sure that they do the best they can. And if they need additional programs, if they need additional resources, that can be made very apparent very quickly. I think that the implementation will start next year, and I think within that first year you'll start seeing great successes, and you'll see some places that don't succeed. And in that, we'll be able to go in and actually make the changes that are needed to make those ones succeed as well.
Obviously, that has been in the news. Another item in the news just this past week surrounded the potential for some public financing for a little football stadium that may be coming to Southern Nevada. From what we don't know if, as sitting legislators, you have more information than the general public does. But based upon what's been listed, you're smirking at each other and looking, so clearly you do.
Actually,
No.
completely the opposite.
You don't.
Completely
You're just
opposite.
in the dark.
The only thing, and I'm going to speak for Richard on this, I think he'll agree with me, the only things I know are what I've seen on the news and what I've seen at the public hearings.
We have been kept in the dark.
Well, that's
It's very
so
reassuring.
comforting.
Isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad you're as ignorant as the rest of us, I guess. Well, based upon what you have heard and what we have all heard under those circumstances, what metrics are you going to use to balance out whether public money or subsidies should go towards what many people call a billionaire boys club?
Well, is that my
Yeah,
start
and
this time? Yeah,
Steve, you go
thought so. I would say I'm very concerned because I want to make sure that there actually is a net benefit for Southern Nevada and for Nevada as a whole. We all too often see these not succeed. I mean, if you look at St. Louis right now, with the Rams having left after 20 years, going back to Los Angeles, and their taxpayers being on the hook for the remainder of that stadium. I think we have to look at it almost removing out the professional football element and looking at it as another venue, like the convention center. Does it pencil out? If we have the 40+ events that they're talking about potentially having, does that create the jobs? Does that create the revenue that takes care of this, and where our taxpayers aren't going to be on the hook for it? If we're coming to the table with so much to support it, I think we need to see a true payback to our community. And if they can't show me that, then, well, that's another conversation.
Richard, you made a football reference earlier, so I'm guessing you don't mind the sport.
Well, I don't mind playing the sport when I was at that age that I could, but same aspect, I don't have a set team, so to speak. I don't wave a banner for one particular team, but same aspect. It's one of those situations where when we look at the big picture, is there a benefit for the community? And we are a tourism city, and there's still a lot of unanswered questions that have to be asked. And with the alleged special session that's coming up, which we know is coming, I think a lot of those questions will be able to be answered then. But the same aspect, it's hard to say generally. Yes, I feel that it's something that we don't want to have our community on the hook for something that would be disposing for them, because ultimately, where are they going to be? If a team says, well, hey, guess what, our contract is up, we don't think Vegas is a good fit for us after 4, 5, 6 years, or 10 years, even 20 years perhaps. It's hard to say. Are we going to be looking for another team? Are we going to get them to ensure that we continue with this forward movement? But it just feels like there's a lot of unanswered questions, which again will be answered, I hope. But to me, it's premature for me to really say yes or no until all the statistics are brought forth. It's like as Stephen had said, that we're pretty much in the dark, and we whatever the general public has seen, we have seen. So if you're scourging all the TV channels and see what if you're tuning into certain Twitter feeds, you can hear the argument back and forth, pro, con, but to me it's like, is that a judgment call for us to make, to say that we're going to base it on that information, or do we base it on the facts that are given to us during the session, during the special session that we can expect?
And we realize this isn't under either of your individual controls or spheres of influence, but I'm sure you can appreciate how it's somewhat terrifying that you're going to be vested with a $750 million decision, essentially, and you're not being involved in, you have no knowledge of it coming up. It's just, it sounds like it's going to drop in your lap and you'll have however many days to mull it over and talk to your constituents and then say yay or nay.
I would say, it's obviously been a process over the last year with a committee of multiple individuals working to present something to us. So when it's presented to us, had we been in it through the whole process, it was a constantly evolving situation. So now there's a more cohesive plan that's going to be presented to us. And I think I'd hope I can speak for the entire legislature in saying, we're not going to go up there and make a decision in 2 hours just because it's there. We're going to take however long it takes to go through that and make sure it's either good policy or bad. And if it's good policy, we'll move forward with it. And if it's bad policy, we won't. I think I'd love to have more time, but even in a general session, we only have 120 days. So, the amount of time that we spend on any given bill, be it in committee hearings and on the floor, is probably fairly comparable to the amount of time we'll spend on this if we dedicate 2, 3, 4 days to it.
I'm sorry, I've been asking most of the questions, and you guys have been down there just all nice and quiet. Mike or Kevin, you want to jump in? I know Kevin does.
Yeah,
We're ready for the hard balls.
Okay.
Last year, we had a China delegation team that come over as a tourism board, and after several days of touring the different city and overall, they came to the conclusion that yes, we have everything. We got hotels, we got entertainment, we got everything, except we lack culture. Okay. So, what we have done this year, and which is sponsored by Scott Hammond, a bill that is for November 12th, Asian Culture Day. And what the bill would do for our city, of course, well, our state, it is the first one in the country, and it would attract, it would give us an advantage to advertise all over the world as what we're doing already. And that would bring it's a big economic value. Anything that you do, you got to have a niche. Now, the bill is going to Senate. I don't know what's the special session going to do, but if of course it's all possible, it's there already. Item number 74, Asian Culture Day, and that the purpose of it is a observance day. So this way we can have literally in the first one in the country and have that Asian united, And what we have been doing is that bring out your best of your culture to share, to show your kids. Now you're going to go back in session soon, I hope. So please look into the bill and help us support it.
Well, I would say just from the description given, and obviously I want to look at it on paper,
Yes.
but from the sound of it, I'd be proud to sign up with Senator Hammond and be a primary sponsor in the other chamber of that. And the special sessions are limited to only what they were called for, so we can't deal with other legislation while we're there. But come the second week of February when the session starts up, I'd be proud to run with that ball. I think you know, we passed out a multicultural education bill this last session that's been sitting in the legislature for over a decade, and very proud to have gotten that out. Yep. It was Assemblyman Harvey Mumford's baby. He'd been trying to pass it for years and years, and thankfully this last session we were able to get it out. And I think this fits in perfectly with that, because then we can bring that into the classrooms. You know, we can recognize that day, recognize the cultures, hopefully expand it out into the community and have special events, be they parades or
That's
you know,
what we're
festivals.
working
I mean, it sounds like something that'd be truly fantastic.
Great.
And I personally embrace, you know, any cultural differences, because it enriches all of us to understand fully. So it's, I think this might have been something that you had talked to me about in the primary. Am I right, Kevin?
Yes, it's in now, so.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And I would be more than happy to co-sponsor it as well.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, all of our culture are basically the same. We share our happiness with the family, with our community, and that creates different culture. That's what it is. So it is based on Dr. Sun's birthday, which is the first president, the first person that have created a republican nation, and that's what saved Asia today. You look into the history line, and it's well-deserved recognition. He was recognized way back. So yeah, please look into it.
And it'd be great, because obviously with the senator carrying it in his chamber, and then if Assemblyman Carrillo and I are fighting for it in our chamber, you know, you'll have good bipartisan support.
Yeah,
you know, I think we
absolutely.
worked very well across the aisle to make sure
Absolutely.
good policy is passed, and I'd be proud and honored to work with you moving forward.
Thank you so much.
We even got that on camera.
There we go.
Well, gentlemen, we're almost at the end of our allotted time here, and I do like to end on a high note. So why don't you give us each about a minute or so, and we'll start with Richard and then go to Stephen. Richard, why are you the better candidate for to retain your seat in Assembly District 18, and then obviously 29 for you, Stephen?
The biggest thing about being an assemblyman is being in the community, being a part of the community, and not feeling that you are any better than anybody that you represent. You know, I come from a blue-collar background. In fact, just being in my community and being recognized when I go shopping, and them having that feeling that I'm just a regular guy. I'm not anybody that's special. I don't have the title of assemblyman. I don't use that. I'm just one of their neighbors, whether it be in my own small community where I'm at, or if I'm visiting constituents. And one of the things that I do like, and I do appreciate the fact that the previous assemblyman had really set the groundwork for somebody that is involved in that community, and somebody who is going to get those calls from a cat in the tree. Believe it or not, you do get that, and you get there's a dip in the road, and they don't know who to call. So who do they call? They call me, and but I could easily say, you know what, that's not really my problem. But I see that as I'm being the good neighbor, and I'm not being an assemblyman. I'm being a good neighbor to them. And I probably even go out of my district and help people out of my district when they have even small air conditioning problems, because that's my trade.
I have no idea who that could have been.
But because ultimately, it's if you don't have a good community base, and people don't know that they have somebody that they can go to, then to me, what's the point of trying to just have the prestige of being an assemblyman? I mean, I go above and beyond, and it's not because I'm expecting any type of recognition. I'm one who's probably the worst at tooting my own horn, but knowing that I get the satisfaction of knowing that they've been taken care of, that I've gotten them the answer or assisted them somehow, to me that's that far outweighs the title of being an assemblyman, because at the end of the day, it's not just the 120 days that you serve. It's a 24/7 job, 24-hour/7 job, and I've always been in the community, and I cannot say more than just being a part of that and helping people out. I mean, to me, it's just a good feeling to have, and when you get a feeling like that, it's like you just want to keep doing it. So.
Well, I think Richard, again, hit the nail on the head. It comes down to one simple thing: it's service. It's going out there, serving your community, serving your neighbors, and making your district, and hopefully, outside of your district, people who are members of your extended family. When I go out knocking, I get to talk to people about all kinds of issues. I'm able to try to help them. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, but you try your best. You direct them to people who might be able to. I know in the last week I had somebody whose child was having issues at school and wanted to see how they could go about moving schools. So I was able to get them in touch and start the process for doing a transfer to another school. Seems like a small thing, but for that one family, for that one child, that might be something that changes their entire life. I take pride in being out there and trying to be as connected to my community as possible. The person who represented the area prior to me, nobody knew who she was. Nobody ever heard from her. I make it a point to go to my schools. I go to other schools across the city because I recognize that my schools are fundamentally different than the schools out in this part of town or up in North Las Vegas or over in Richard's area. And going to a Manch or to a Priest as opposed to a Bartlett, gives you a real insight into how you help kids across the community. I think some people think, well, this is my district, these are my walls, this is where I'm going to work. My vote affects every person in Nevada. So when I make a vote, I think about my community, I think about my constituents, and then I think, how is this going to affect everybody else? Because at the end of the day, I might be elected by a small population of Nevadans, but my vote counts for every single one of them. And I'm just the person who gets to sit in the seat. The seat's the thing that's important. The institution is the thing that's important. Like Richard said, I don't like the title Assemblyman. I like people just to call me Stephen. Because if you call me Assemblyman, then you feel like there's a barrier between us. But Stephen's that guy who's willing to come over and help me pull weeds or carry material into my backyard if I'm working on a remodel, or help one of the people in the community carry in groceries because it's just a little too heavy for him. That's the job I want.
Gentlemen, can't thank you enough for joining us today. I know it's late in the day on a Sunday, but we really do appreciate it. Just so you know, we'll be having we'll be releasing our endorsements probably, definitely by the end of the month. We're having another makeup session on the evening of the 28th, I believe it is, 2 Wednesdays from now. The reason we have to take a week off is next Saturday night, the 24th, we're having our 13th annual Asian American Group Awards Banquet. We're honoring 13 different people in the community who have been giving their time and energy and money and efforts towards making Las Vegas a better place for everyone. It will be at the TI from 5:30 till 7 is our cocktail hour, then 7 till 9 is our main program. But if you are available, we'd love to see you guys there. Yeah. So please do join us. I'll be sending out some more information on it tomorrow. Okay. Probably sometime tomorrow after lunch.
It's basically a charity event because what we do, last year we gave 1,000 turkeys, 1,000 toys. This year we're going to give 1,500 to 2,000 turkeys. Awesome. And about 1,500 toys too. Yeah. That's our fundraiser we do every year. And we are, Dina Titus is coming, Commissioner Sisolak is going to be there, all going to be there.
We anticipate between 400 to 450 people.
400 people. So we'll be honored to have you guys.
Well, and I was going to say, I know you're recognizing them as your organization, but if you'd like some kind of recognition from the state,
okay. You know what? I'd love to get certificates. Yeah. Like the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce, we honoring the lady from.
Yeah, and I know Richard and I can get proclamations from the state. They're
Oh,
really
yeah.
lovely with the state seal on it, and I think we'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
to
didn't get from
get
you,
those
but
made.
I already got it from the governor's office, we all got it.
Yeah, but-
From you guys, we'd love to have it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
if
take
if
them
you can
on
get us
that.
a list of names and maybe just a little biography about what it was that they did, probably what's already going in the
Yeah,
brochure.
and I have the brochures, I'll forward them to you tomorrow.
That'd be fantastic. We'll
Okay.
get that taken care of right away.
Thank you
Beautiful.
very much.
Thank you guys, appreciate
Lovely,
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.